Good morning, everyone. I'm Staff Sergeant Summer Pech from the Air Force's Personnel Center Developmental Special Duty Office. We have just opened up our Spring 2022 DSD cycle, which will run from February to July. DSD is a nominative process that occurs twice a year during the spring and fall, providing commanders an opportunity to nominate their airmen to fill these positions. The Air Force has identified developmental special duty as enlisted developmental positions due to their unique leadership roles and the airmen's responsibility to mentor and mold future leaders. To ensure the highest quality airmen are assigned to these key positions, the Air Force has implemented a nomination process. The nomination process provides commanders through their respective MAJCOM an opportunity to nominate their best airmen to fill these critical positions while providing a developmental career path. Our program focuses on nominations for staff, technical, and master sergeants. Developmental special duties are temporary in nature and performed by airmen for a period of up to 3 to 4 years. My team and I are here to give you the most up-to-date information on the Spring 2022 DSD cycle and answer any questions you may have about the program today. Type your questions in the comments section and we'll answer them either during the briefing and or directly to you in the comments. So are you interested in DSD? Let's get into it. Here's an outline of what we'll discuss today. We'll start by providing a DSD program overview that includes a visual of the Spring 2022 cycle's timeline and the DSD match matrix and how this helpful tool can assist you. Followed by discussion on the eligibility criteria for DSD, the commander's nomination window, and the airman's responsibilities and expectations. We'll give some of the most common reasons airmen are non-selected for DSD and the why wasn't I selected portion of the brief. Lastly, we'll discuss some recent changes to the program and wrap up by explaining the enlisted instructor and recruiter special duty process and points of contact. If we didn't cover your question during the presentation, we'll continue to answer them in the comments section. So we'll start with a DSD program overview. The spring cycle begins in February and ends in July. Assignments for the spring 2022 cycle will have report no later than dates of October 2022 through March 2023. The Air Force has identified 10 special duties as enlisted developmental positions. Those AFSCs are outlined here as military training instructor, military training leader, professional military education instructor, recruiter, airman and family readiness NCO, career assistance advisor, Air Force Honor Guard, U.S. Air Force Academy military trainer, first sergeant, and airman dorm leader. AFSCs that are nominated and selected within the DSD cycle are outlined in this slide. These are our PCS positions. Next, we'll address our biannual requirements. Each cycle, there are approximately 15 to 20,000 initial eligible airmen. Of that 15 to 20,000 pool of eligibles, about 14 to 15,000 are screened and reviewed by the MAJCOMs. After vetting and reviewing eligibility rosters, Wings and MAJCOMs nominate approximately 5 to 6,000 airmen to fill approximately 1,000 vacancies each cycle. That's a selection rate of approximately 5 to 7%. If you round up, of the initial group of eligible airmen, this is an extremely competitive process. Here is a visual of the Spring 2022 cycle timeline. The cycle starts in February with AFPC's internal process, which included analyzing DSD requirements and working career field managers' releases. On March 16, 2022, the EI and RSD process opens for the 8B2 and 8T0s. Eligible members get the opportunity to log into My Vector and apply for 8B2 and 8T0 positions. Then commanders go in and endorse members they see fit to serve in a DSD position. This process takes about 4 weeks. On April 18, 2022, the traditional DSD nomination window opens for 8B0, 8B1, 8R0, and 8G0. Commanders and MAJCOM A1s have 6 weeks to vet and nominate airmen who are eligible for DSD consideration. Once the nomination window closes on May 30th, we proceed to the matching process. On or about June 6th, AFPC begins matching or selecting the most eligible candidates for further screening by hiring authorities. Once the matching window closes July 1st, we move to what's called the cycle's closing actions. This includes completing any backfills for disqualified selectees, loading assignment actions, and a cycle hot wash. Lastly, you'll see the report no later than dates range from October 2022 to March 2023. Now we'll talk briefly about the DSD match matrix. This document is updated at the beginning of each week of the matching phase and published to the Developmental Special Duty MyPERS website. The DSD match matrix is our way of providing transparency during the matching process. The legend breaks down how to interpret the matrix. It is broken down into 4 categories. No requirement, meaning there were no vacancies for that AFSC at the specified rank. Matching, meaning we are currently in the process of selecting candidates for that AFSC at the specified rank. Matched, meaning we have selected candidates for that AFSC at the specified rank and all vacancies have been filled. And not started, meaning we have not begun to select candidates for that AFSC at the specified rank at that moment. The match matrix is a great tool to use when you're interested in knowing where AFPC is in the matching process. We highly encourage the field to use this resource available on our MyPERS site and the AFPC Facebook page. Let's talk the basic nomination eligibility criteria. Members in the grade of Staff Sergeant through Master Sergeant who can obtain retainability through the end of the DSD tour. In addition, in order to be selected for a DSD AFSC, the member must not have an assignment on file already. In regard to performance reports, the member's last 3 EPRs will be considered. Under the legacy EPR system, members must have all 5s. Under the current EPR system, members' EPRs must reflect AC or LC. Concerning fitness tests, the standard for DSD aligns with the Air Force's past standard of 75. MAJCOMs are required to verify that airmen have a 75 or above. The only caveat for DSD consideration is the member cannot have a PT failure in the past 12 months. Lastly, the member must have no record of disciplinary action that resulted in an Article 15 or UIF within the past 3 years. Member also cannot have any record of a conviction by court-martial. Please note, for the recruiting career field, candidates must not have any action that resulted in an Article 15 throughout their entire career. This slide provides information regarding commander's nomination. As discussed previously, when talking through the cycle timeline, commanders have a 6-week window for nominations. It is suggested that unit leadership vector airmen into a DSD that matches the member's skill sets to ensure a successful tour. The nomination roster, personnel services delivery guide, SPCAT guide, and DSD match matrix are all tools provided to ensure the commander's nominative process is a smooth one. AFPC only requires 1 vector for DSD candidates, with the second vector being optional. However, each MAJCOM varies. We ask that you consult your MAJCOM A1 to verify vector expectations. If there is more than 1 vector, they must be rank ordered as primary and secondary. Don't see a member's name on the nomination roster? No worries, leadership is authorized additions. As long as they are identified as an addition on the spreadsheet, they will be considered. Moving on, once members are nominated, they will only be considered and selected within their first or second vectors. Another thing for commanders to consider is if an airman has previously served in a DSD position. They must have returned to their primary AFSC for at least 3 years before being nominated again. Lastly, the approval authority to remove members no longer qualified for DSD is the wing commander. So if a member presents a unique hardship, no longer meets eligibility criteria, or is no longer fit for DSD consideration, a DSD removal memo has to be signed by the wing commander and routed to AFPC. Now we'll touch on some of the airman's responsibilities. Throughout the entire DSD process, communication is key. If you are interested in serving in a DSD, please communicate that interest to your leadership. If you are selected for a DSD assignment, immediately notify your MPS Career Development Office and chain of command of any conditions that would render you ineligible for said assignment. Airmen selected must complete the Special Duty application package no later than 15 days from the assignment notification and submit it to the OPR of the DSD AFSC, outlined in the PSDG. Not completing SPCAT requirements is not an option. Another responsibility of the airman is to verify your records are up to date to ensure you're being considered and screened accurately and efficiently. Lastly, airmen who are nominated will be vulnerable for DSD assignment selection for up to 6 months, as AETC can take up to 6 months to run mini cycles after initial DSD selection. This vulnerability does not prevent members from applying or obtaining any specific assignment selections like AMS or overseas assignments. Please channel any questions or concerns to your respective MAJCOM A1. Here we will try to tackle the big question, why wasn't I selected? There are a multitude of reasons why a member may not have been selected for a DSD. We'll provide some of the most common reasons in this portion of the brief. First and foremost, the number of airmen who are eligible and nominated are far more than the number of vacancies. To reiterate, there can be up to 30,000 eligible members competing to fill up to 1,000 requirements. So the most frequent reason a member was not selected for a DSD assignment is all requirements were filled by airmen who are more eligible based on assignment rules. One thing to note is if a member isn't initially selected, AFPC keeps a running roster to backfill vacancies due to disqualifications. Another common reason airmen may not be selected for DSD is there were limited or no career field manager releases available. There are times when CFMs provide limited or no release at all. This usually occurs when their career field is critically manned. The CFM determines how many allocations can be released in accordance with Air Force needs. The next common reason airmen may not have been selected for DSD is high-year tenure restrictions. As mentioned previously, airmen must be able to obtain retainability through the entire DSD tour. If they are unable to obtain the retainability, they will not be considered. And lastly, selective retention bonus obligations or requirements not being met. To be eligible for DSD, the member must complete at least 50% of their SRB term unless the member received 100% upfront and has completed 50% of their enlistment in their primary AFPC. We ask that MAJCOMs do not submit SRB waiver worksheets on eligible members until we reach the matching phase of the cycle. We hope this section of the brief addressed some of the questions or concerns regarding non-selection. The DSD program has evolved over the years. Some of those changes are outlined here. First and foremost, the First Sergeant program is no longer under the DSD umbrella. The program has a separate hiring process that is run by the CFM here at AFPC. Same with local hires, they still fall under the DSD umbrella, but the hiring process is owned and operated at the wing level. Over the past couple of cycles, we have increased communication through target messaging. There are 3 messages sent directly to all airmen throughout the DSD process. The first is a message informing qualified airmen they are eligible for DSD consideration. The second is a congratulatory message sent directly to all airmen who were nominated by their leadership. The third message is an announcement of DSD cycle closure, which provides guidance for those who are selected and non-selected in addition to the target messages. The final selection roster is posted on our MyPer site at the end of each cycle. So we've discussed some changes and some of our efforts to better communicate with you throughout the process. Now we'll touch on what we need from you. We ask that leaders put forth their best effort in nominating the right people for DSD. In addition to considering an airman's personality, skill set, and potential, we ask that you utilize the tools and resources available, like the PSDG and Speak Act Guide, and become familiar with eligibility criteria. And last but not least, communication at all levels. From the unit through the MAJCOM A1s and to AFPC and HAF, we know that the DSD program is executed more effectively and efficiently when communication is clear and frequent. The next couple of slides are to provide an overview of the Enlisted Instructor and Recruiter Special Duty process, also known as the EI and RSD process. This remains a relatively new process for hiring PME instructors and USAF academic military trainers, with hopes of it becoming the future of DSD. I'll start with touching on the objective of the reform. That objective is to fuse talent management methodology into our DSD program by providing a predictable, sustainable, and explainable process. So a little bit on how we're going to do this. DSD will be broken down into 3 respective processes, kind of as it is now. We'll have the EI and RSD process, the local hire process, and the First Sergeant hiring process. Each of these processes incorporate the same 4 pillars for mission success. Those pillars are nomination, selection, notification, and assignment. To meet the intent of this brief, I will hone in on the EI and RSD process specifically. We continue to evolve the process for how we nominate, select, notify, and assign AFSCs assigned to the DSD cycle. These DSDs will be executed using the MyVector platform and will somewhat mirror the current officer program. With that being said, I'll transition into the EI and RSD process and what we hope it will look like on the next slide. So here's an illustration of the Enlisted Instructor and Recruiting Special Duty process. Ultimately, what we're aiming for is a central selection process for the DSD AFSCs managed by AFPC. We'll start with the left column and the nomination phase of the process. The members involved include the airmen, or the members themselves, commanders, wing command chiefs, and their designated representatives. So AFPC will import an eligibility roster into MyVector when the cycle begins, and a target message will be sent to all qualified airmen. From there, the individual is given a window to acknowledge or opt in or out of DSD consideration. They will also provide their preference as special duty identifiers, MTI, MTL, recruiter, and PME. Candidates will be able to list their preference in rank order. Keeping in mind that this is still a commander-nominated program, the commander's approval and endorsement is still needed. So the opt-in or out feature is really for leadership to gauge who's truly interested in DSD. If a member opts out of consideration, commanders have the authority to say, "Hey, we see something in you, Sergeant Barker. You'd be a great MTL. We're here to put your name in the hat." So from there, the member's commander will have a window to endorse the DSD vector or volunteer request. All of this is done in the MyVector platform. Once the window for the nomination portion closes, AFPC will export the list of eligible members from MyVector and import them into the eBOSS system for screening. The next piece is a central board or screening process. The members involved in this process are the AETC stakeholders. The respective SDI career field manager will chair the board and designate whoever they see fit as board members, likely MAJCOM functionals and other special duty subject matter experts. There will be a window for the board to take place using the eBOSS system. The board's main task, of course, is to review the records for suitability, Air Force needs, airman qualifications, and quality. And what's going to come of this talent management screening is a concentrated qualified candidate list that meets institutional requirements. Now there's a list of selectees. We'll progress to what's presented in the notification phase. During the notification phase, you guessed it, notifications are made. MAJCOM A1s, Force Support Squadrons, Wing Leadership, and Commanders are notified of selected candidates first. Our intent is to give commanders the opportunity to notify and champion their selects. A week later, selectees will be published via AFPC PSDM. In addition, the candidates are notified of their selection or non-selection via targeted messaging. That's the notification piece. The end result of this process is real-time execution, transparency, and communication to airmen in an IT environment. Pretty simple. Now we'll move to the final phase, which is assignment. During the assignment phase, selectees will receive another target message to log in and review the Talent Marketplace tab, which is in MyVector. From there, they will be able to rank order their assignment preference based on requisitions set by the CFM. We here at AFPC will finalize the match and load training and PCS actions afterwards. And that, in a nutshell, is the EIN-RSD process. We are only executing this process with PME instructors and USAFA academic military trainers at this time. However, we are still developing and working out some of the kinks, but this will most likely be the reform process for DSD in the future. Here are the best ways to contact the DSD office here at AFPC with any questions or concerns. You can call the Total Force Service Center at commercial 210-565-0102, toll free 800-525-0102, or DSN 665-0102, or send an email to our org box listed here. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this webcast was informative and answered most, if not all, of your questions. The Developmental Special Duty Program nomination season is here, and the upcoming nomination phase will be in full swing by March and April 2022. Please work with your local leadership and MAJCOM A1s for specific questions regarding vectoring and nomination. Nominations will be accepted through May 30th, 2022. We look forward to seeing your name.